think about Formula 1, you may immediately recognize this. And for those who have been a fan for a little longer, of course you'll also recognize this. Formula 1 is often talked about as the pinnacle of motorsport. At first glance, I thought it may be just because of the speed or the glamour. I've often heard the term used on TV as well, and of course when tuning into different races. But the more I thought about it, I just really wondered why. Why is it used? What does it mean? So let's find out. This is the FP Club, and this is why F1 is considered the pinnacle of motorsport. Formula 1 is regarded as the highest form of international motorsport and the most elite level of motor racing. It has an incredible legacy that can trace its roots back to the post-war era of the late 40s and the early 50s. Since the sport's inception in the early 50s, it has been sanctioned and regulated by the FIA, who set the new and given international regulations for racing, or the racing formula, hence the name Formula 1. These are basically the rules on things like technical specs, weight, and engines that each team must follow in order to compete. The FIA also oversees multiple other racing series, including Formula 2 and Formula 3. F2 and F3 operate under a different formula or different set of rules, and can also act as a feeder category for some drivers to step into F1. This is what also makes Formula 1 the higher tier of formula racing. The FIA introduced the first regulations in 1946, setting out to make Formula 1 the world's premier single-seater racing series, following up with the first official Drivers' World Championship in 1950, with its first GP taking place in Silverstone, England. In the early years, races were mainly held in Europe, though races in the US with the Indy 500 and Argentina also formed part of the championship series. This decade also saw the rise of iconic drivers like Alberto Ascari, Juan Manuel Fangio, Mike Hawthorne, and Sir Stirling Moss, as well as historic teams like Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Maserati, and Mercedes-Benz. So from its inception, the goal was to make Formula 1 the most elite racing championship at an international level. The incredible levels of speed in F1 make it a high-performance motorsport. Cutting-edge technological innovation has made the sport faster and more advanced with each update to the regulations. Teams are constantly pushing innovation in search for better and efficient ways to increase the level of straight line and cornering speeds, allowing the drivers to push their skill and navigate each circuit, its straights and its tight corners at ridiculous speeds. New regulations bring about a relentless push for power, performance, and speed. Teams extract every possible technological advantage through design innovations that have changed what Formula 1 cars have looked like throughout the decades. The use of new materials, electronics, different carbon fiber parts, evolving power units, tires, advanced disc brakes, and aerodynamic efficient front and rear wings are all combined to make some of the fastest cars in the world. Current cars can go over 230 miles per hour at some races. For instance, Lewis Hamilton holds the record of the fastest average speed across a lap at over 164 miles per hour, which was set driving the Mercedes at the 2020 Italian GP in Monza. The innovation and speed of F1 cars is put to the test at multiple circuits in each F1 season. The global focus of F1 means the teams race in the most iconic and challenging tracks around the world. As the Formula 1 season is made up of several Grand Prix, the sport visits multiple international destinations. Some of these races take place in prestigious circuits that have hosted F1 for several decades. Other races take place in close city circuits that have been purposely adapted to host F1. All races have to meet a certain standard and be Grade 1 tracks, and this is the highest grade rating issued by the FIA. Each track has its own challenge to the teams and the drivers. Not all Grand Prix are the same. Each circuit is unique, meaning that cars and drivers have to adapt to each track that they race in. This makes each race stand out and each Grand Prix unique, meaning cars and drivers have to adapt to each track that they race in, making each GP stand out as it can heavily influence both the Drivers' World Championship and the Constructors' World Championship for the teams. This year's race calendar is set to have a total of 24 GPs that will see a mix of high-speed and street circuits. glamorous and iconic venues like the prestigious Monaco circuit that has only changed slightly since the late 1920s, and also Silverstone, which hosted the first race in the 50s, as well as Monza, one of the oldest circuits still used today. Of course, we can't forget the high-level competition and the iconic driver-team rivalries that make F1 the pinnacle of motorsport. F1 is the highest class of single-seater racing in the world, and it attracts some of the most competitive and ambitious racing minds from every country. With legendary drivers like Ayrton Senna, Mika Häkkinen, Nigel Mansell, and Max Verstappen having stepped up to F1 from F3, British F3, and European F3. Kimi Raikkonen from Formula Renault, as well as Mario Andretti, Jacques Villeneuve, and Juan Pablo Montoya from kart in the US. Over the decades, we have seen multiple top-tier teams, engineers, cutthroat team principals, and the fastest drivers battle to be the best driver and team around the world. With iconic rivalries between teams and drivers like Hamilton and Rosberg, Prost and Senna, Schumacher and Häkkinen, Hamilton and Verstappen. It's not just a contest of speed for race wins, it's also a drama with prestige, big business, and recognition, where the most iconic car brands and manufacturers fight each other on track to squeeze every bit of power and performance from their team. Historic engine manufacturers and teams with huge sponsorship have competed in F1 with the likes of Ferrari, Jaguar, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Renault, Ford, and McLaren. Where a victory in F1 most certainly brings prestige to each team, but also brings a way to elevate their brands, promote their road car models, and increase business. There are team strategies, tactics, and drama behind the scenes that can turn team, car, and driver into competitive forces, racing each other every weekend. Formula One also has a unique and diverse subculture, all thanks to its huge global reach. The massive international fan base makes F1 not just an elite motorsport, but also one of the top international sporting events worldwide. The dynamic fan culture plays a huge part in the sports business and sponsors. Fan support can also sometimes determine a team's or a driver's success. By propelling a team into a higher level, help attract sponsors, encourage a driver's performance, or even create demand for a new race depending on the destination. Grand Prix weekends are almost like massive, multi-day festivals where a fan can directly engage with the sport, the team, the drivers, and of course connect with other fans from around the world. This huge level of engagement is also seen on the commercialization of F1 through live TV worldwide audiences, sports news, and exclusive content on other media like Netflix, podcast, and YouTube, with deeper insight into the technological aspects, driver interviews, behind the scenes content, and the overall drama of F1. Few other sports or racing categories can claim to have a similar dynamic fan culture or high level of international reach. There's no doubt that F1 has a unique appeal and complex nature. So why the pinnacle of motorsport? You could say that F1 sets a high standard for competition and innovation in racing. At a rich history, global venues, a huge fan base, legendary circuits, highly skilled teams and drivers, with a never-ending chase to push technological boundaries and build a perfect car possible to truly test who's the best and ultimately reach that top step on the podium, all combined in one package. This constant quest for improvement, the high level of competition and the highs plus the lows that's seen second by second and lap by lap is what makes F1 the pinnacle for me. I enjoy the battles for the win, the fights in the rest of the grid, and the compelling storylines that all of this creates. It's cool, unique racing. Thanks for watching, and if you liked our first video, let us know what you think and what content you like to see as we follow the new season. So don't miss a single lap, and if you like this, please subscribe. Also, as a side note, let me know which team you think will catch Red Bull this year, and also who you think might bring one or two surprises. Thank you. Peace.